All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Monday, August 5th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, this episode, this is not a trap. This is a real episode of the BO Boys. And we are here to talk about some guy who has a crayon of a certain color. We're here to talk about the latest from M. Night Shyamalan and his daughters. We're here to talk about another big box office weekend. Very exciting. By the way, Deadpool is bigger than Jesus. It's official. So let's get into it. Clayton, can you give us a plow for the box office weekend of Friday, August 2nd?
Number one, Deadpool and Wolverine made $97 million, down only 54%. It added 20 theaters. It's at $395.5 million in its second weekend of release. Number two, Twisters made $22.6 million, down only 35%, even after losing 161 theaters. It's at $195.5 million in its third weekend. Number three, Trap made $15.6 million in its first frame. Number four, Despicable Me 4 made $11.2 million, down 23%. It hemorrhaged theaters, lost 234 theaters. It's at $313.9 million in its fifth weekend. And number five, Inside Out 2, $8.7 million. Wait, $6.7 million, down 22%. It lost 535 theaters. It's at $626.8 million in its eighth weekend of release. And number six, a newbie, Harold and the Purple Crayon made $6 million in its first frame. Wah wah.
Wow. Clayton, have you ever heard of The Firing Squad? This is a movie that also came in the top 10. It was debuted at number 8 with $1.6 million. Did you happen to see The Firing Squad this
No.
weekend?
I mean, luckily not. I wouldn't say The Firing Squad is not in my future, but
Okay.
this movie made $1.6 million in only
It did.
702 theaters.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I must admit, I did not hear about this movie. I did not get any social media ads for it leading up
Mm-hmm.
to it. No one in my social circle was saying you got to see Firing Squad, you got to see The Firing Squad. But
Mm-hmm.
it's based on a true story, and The Firing Squad, it's about 3 Christian prisoners who face execution in a third world country and how their joy in Christ results in a discovery of the power of hope and forgiveness. So it's called The Firing Squad. I mean, I haven't seen this movie. I don't know if I will get around to it. Is this movie following the actual people who fire on the Christians? Are they the protagonists of this film? Because I mean, it's
That is
titled The Firing Squad, so I would think that's who we're watching.
that is a curious that's a curious title.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think now I know what you're talking about because this movie stars Kevin Sorbo
Oh wow. Okay.
and Cuba Gooding Jr.
Oscar winner
winner.
Cuba Gooding Jr. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Okay.
somebody else, but yeah, I have seen the poster for this. It is
Would you
curious
say
that you.
this is a comeback from Snow Dogs for Cuba Gooding Jr., or this is a continue of his fall?
Oh, I mean,
Snow Dogs is bigger than Firing Squad.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I was just wondering how we should frame this, whether Firing Squad should be looked at as Cuba Gooding's return to form post Snow Dogs.
I mean, listen, this is as much as Jesus saw the firing squad this weekend with Deadpool beating it. I do think that, these religious movies, they can still make money at the theaters.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think this may have been a titling problem. This could have made more if it was clear that this movie was about the Christians and not the firing squad that fired upon them. If this had been called the Fired Upon for Jesus Squad
Mhm.
rather than the Firing Squad, I know it's a longer title, but I do think that it makes over $2 million instead of 1.6.
I
If
also
that's
think there
correct.
might be a little bit of, we saw this we saw this the other weekend that with the what was that one called, the
The
Fabulous
Fabulous Four. Yeah.
Four, that
Yeah.
this could
Susan
be
Sarandon in those
a
glasses. Yeah.
Suicide Squad situation where they're like, oh, maybe people will be confused with this one too. It's a
Oh,
squad. Maybe they'll think it's a superhero situation, and we'll get some Deadpool and Wolverine runoff. I mean, I think that name, the firing squad, is a cool name because
it's
you're
a cool
like,
name. Yeah.
and I think you go with that, even though it is not great advertisement for what the actual movie is.
Yeah. Do you think that this movie has earned enough that we will get the sequel simply titled Firing Squad?
Um, we'll see how next weekend goes. I think the
Yeah.
next weekend will tell the tale, but that would be interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, solid weekend for Kevin Sorbo
Hmm.
that he did finish in the top 10. So he remains a going concern, Kevin Sorbo.
Hmm.
So, but I mean, number one, I said it at the top, bigger than Jesus is Deadpool and Wolverine. And not just because they uh, finished ahead of the firing squad this weekend, but Deadpool and Wolverine has now passed The Passion of the Christ as the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. And it did it in just 2 weekends, in just about 10 days of release. Deadpool and Wolverine, now the highest grossing R-rated film of all time.
And
And
listen, I'm not going to say how that reflects on us as a country because it's not for me to say. But I do think that it is at a time when people are saying the box office is not viable,
mm,
to have that record broken
yep,
after all these years
yep,
is huge.
it's huge. Yeah. I mean, this is the biggest R-rated movie ever. Think of the history of R-rated movies.
Hmm.
And this movie has passed every one of them. Godfather movies, Goodfellas movies, Beverly Hills Cop movies, you know, Wildcats with the cameo from Bill Maher. You know, that was
Tomcats.
R-rated. Tomcats, of course.
Wildcats is the football movie, I believe, with Goldie Hawn.
Yes, yes. Though that may have also been R-rated.
Could be.
We'll have to look that up. But yes, it did. Tomcats definitely R-rated, and
Hmm.
Deadpool and Wolverine has now beaten that as well. So you're right. It's incredible that anyone would say that the box office is on its way out. Theatrical's on its way out when they're out here breaking all-time records.
I mean, we talked about it by the water cooler, and I
Yeah,
sent you this
yeah, we have.
yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Anthony D is for Dirty Words.
Yeah,
Alessandro
yep,
going off
yeah. I mean,
in his
read this man's quote. Amazing.
article. He says, it's funny, even in boom times at the box office, the entertainment media can be cynical, saying that few films work at the box office and that theatrical is still broken. That's horse shit. This was the third highest grossing weekend of the year at the box office with an estimated 173 million. So
Wow.
I agree, and I like this fire. I like the
Yes.
fire here because we have to start standing up and saying,
Mhm.
don't tell us how the box office is doing. Don't
Yes.
tell people how the box office is doing when you don't know how the box office is actually doing.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Know your history, know your information. It's so easy to be like, yeah, nobody goes to the movies anymore, blah blah. It's just like that's what a dumb person says.
Wow. Okay.
And don't be a dumb person when you're
Yeah,
in
don't.
conversation. Be the person who the dumb person says, the box office is, and then you say, well, Deadpool and
Barbenheimer.
Wolf,
Yeah.
Barbenheimer. Well, that's last summer. Say Deadpool and Wolverine is the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. Of all time.
Mhm.
That means every R-rated movie ever
Right.
has made less than this movie. And
Right.
that happened now,
Right.
right now,
Right.
as we're speaking.
Right. Every
So,
Hangover sequel has made less than Deadpool and Wolverine.
and if you want, while this person is sort of like taken aback and weakened by your strong argument, if you want to give them a little bit of a shove just to physically dominate them, that's also something that I would say you should try.
Oh wow, okay. I mean, even Anthony D is for dirty words. D'Alessandro Deadline has not gone that far,
Yeah.
but you know that's
I'm not
that's
saying like
where
a
you're at,
full on arms out shove, just like
like a
a little
nudge,
sh- a little
a little
shove just to
nudge.
be
Yeah.
like, because most people aren't shoved enough.
Okay. Okay. Now, I mean, would you be in favor of an open locker being behind the person when you do this little shove?
If it's possible, but I doubt we'd be in any area where there's a locker. I'm rarely in places with lockers anymore.
Okay. So I love this as well from Anthony D. Is for now it's dirty words, not for Disney, not for
Mhm.
Deadline. D'Alessandro calling horseshit when he sees it, and
He was
that's
cutting the
very
shit.
important. He was cutting the well. I wouldn't say he was cutting the shit because I mean that's trademarked by the BO boys, and I would hope that he wasn't cutting the shit because then he'd be hearing from some lawyers. But he was pointing out the horse shit, and that's his thing. And I love that for him, and I hope he gets that trademarked. He really should get it trademarked, pointing out the horse shit
Yeah,
because he saw the horse shit. You know,
I
we
hope
cut
this.
this shit. He points out the horse shit, and I think that's a we work in tandem in that way.
I hope to see more horse shit in his articles moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of, before we get on Deadpool and Wolverine, which almost hit 100, which also by the end of the day we might be seeing that number up there, because right now it's 97, but last weekend this thing jumped almost $10 million from the Sunday to the Monday. So we're
Yeah,
dealing with
yeah.
Sunday numbers still.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
talk about some horse shit. Harold and the Purple Crayon. Can we talk about it?
Le- I mean, let's deep dive into this horse shit right now. So we gave this one short shrift on the weekend preview. You know,
Mhm.
we had a lot to get through superhero wise with David Thompson and the direct. Go back and listen to that episode. So we really haven't even talked about this movie yet. This new Zachary Levi star
Mhm.
adapting a what originally published in the 1950s kids book, Harold and the Purple Crayon.
1955.
Wow. Wow. Now, I will say you still do see this book all over the place. You know, it's not like they unearth a book from a time capsule, blew on it, dust came off. No one's ever heard of this book in the last, 70 years. This is still a popular book, gets new editions. You see it in the kids section of a bookstore, all that. So
Mhm.
it's an IP, but what do you blame this on as your first level? This is why this thing failed when, hey, it's an IP. It could have made some cheese.
Well, I think you're gonna think I'm gonna say one thing and I'm gonna say something else.
I love it. I love when you do that.
Well, I mean, it's marketing because nobody knew this movie
Mhm,
was coming out. I think
mhm,
that's number one. I think
mhm.
with this movie, it barely made a dent marketing wise. Now, of course, it could have been marketed. It's marketed to really, really small kids. Like this was a little kids movie, so
Yeah,
like kids under 12.
as Anthony D. Alessandro said, this was a hand holder in
Yeah,
quotes.
it's
This
a
is a
hand
hand holder.
holder.
Yeah.
So that I think limited how I was marketed to this movie. But here's the thing. I knew Inside Out 2 was coming out. I
Yes.
knew Despicable Me 4 was coming out.
Yep.
Those are, yes, teenagers watch those movies and things. And of course, we know the Pixar perverts watch the Pixar movies. But
Hmm.
I still think, I mean, I saw a lot of ads for Lyle Lyle Crocodile
Right.
when that came out. And that was 2022. And this movie, I think I saw 2 ads for it.
Hmm.
So that
Hmm.
is huge. I mean, you gotta market and promote your movie if you want it to make money.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Full stop. Full stop. Yeah.
The other thing we gotta, I mean, obviously the other thing is Zachary Levi
Yeah.
just being an upsetting presence.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a big difference when you talk about Lyle Crocodile. And of course, Lyle was a
Is a
failure,
bum.
a buffoon. He's a bum. He's been kicked out of Hollywood himself, the
Mhm.
crocodile. But that movie did have Javier Bardem as its human star,
Mhm.
former Oscar winner, you know, beloved, maybe not beloved, but well respected, well known
Yeah.
movie presence, you're going to be able to hang ads on a Javier Bardem pick in a way that it's a lot tougher to be plastering Zachary Levi's, putting him all over the place and getting him out there. And I mean, here's the thing: you can't let this man talk, and that's a problem for any studio. When the star of their movie, you just can't feel comfortable putting this guy in front of a camera and a microphone. And I think
Yeah,
that is what Sony ran into with having Zachary Levi as the human in their movie.
yeah, and it's the thing with Zachary Levi is he's yoked to the gills, which is sort of off-putting
Yeah,
because he doesn't have to be now that Shazam is dead, and
right.
he's sort of become, you know how Jeff Bridges became the dude? He's sort
Yes.
of eternally bigged himself, where now he
Mm-hmm.
comes off as this child in a man's body, in an
Mm-hmm.
unsettling, overly manicured man's body. And
Yeah, it's a
it
manscaped man who has a child inside of him.
yeah,
That is a tough combo for a star.
yeah, and it is just talking about it makes me shiver.
Yeah.
In a way, like,
Yeah.
if you would've okay, I didn't
Okay.
see Longlegs, unfortunately. You saw Longlegs, but
I did. Enjoyed it.
if and I still don't know what Nicolas Cage looks like, but nothing could be more disturbing than if he looked like Zachary Levi. So, like, if I
Yeah.
went to Longlegs and sitting across from that table and we saw that, actor's heartbeat monitor in the trailer
Micah
and
Monroe. Yeah.
Micah Monroe, if Micah Monroe would have sat down at the table, looked across the table, and it's Zachary Levi, I think both of our heart rates would have went way, way, way up.
Yes. If it had been Nicolas Cage playing Zachary Levi
Mhm.
as Longlegs, and I loved what Nicolas Cage did in Longlegs. I think he was very entertaining, added to the movie. But that would have been next level Nicolas Cage acting if he had
Mhm.
somehow transformed into Zachary Levi as Longlegs.
Yeah.
Then that movie, instead of it's a hit, it's over 70 million. That movie's at 200, 300 million. Not because people want to see Zachary Levi, but because it would have been the most haunting character since, I mean, he's in the news, Hannibal Lecter,
Mhm.
you know.
So Harold played best in the middle of the country, so the Earth
Mhm.
Dogs, the Stacks Dwellers, the Plain Billies. Biggest theater was Cinemark Cut in Frisco, Texas.
Wow.
So that was big.
Getting frisky in Frisco. Wow.
And I do think Zachary Levi weirdly has a sort of, you know, middle of America fan base. I think probably because he played Kurt Warner in Underdog, and that's possible that people like him from that. So
Um, ha-
he does have some fans.
he has some fans. I mean, um, yeah, but I don't know. Do you think that the Plain Billies, the Earth Dogs, the Stack Dwellers really want this child in a man's juiced up manscaped body? I don't know if even, I'm sure everyone liked Underdog, Kurt Warner story, but I don't know if that still continues to liking this current mutation of Zachary Levi, because he's also not just a child in a roided out manscaped man's body. He's also like this angry, petulant child.
Mhm.
He's not the fun child that maybe he even was in Shazam 1, or of course Tom Hanks wasn't big. He is a child who gets mad at you for not liking his movies on Instagram. And I don't
Yeah.
know who likes that child.
Yeah, nobody likes that person, whether it's man, child,
Right.
woman,
Man, you know,
person.
person. Yeah, it's there's so much going on in Zachary Levi that I feel like he's a man child without a country at this point.
Frisco
Though he
liked
will
him.
be on a boat. Who liked him?
Frisco,
Frisco
Frisco,
did like him.
Texas.
Frisco did like him, and If you are a wannabe oh boy, wannabe oh girl, wannabe oh person
Person.
who lives in Frisco, Texas, email us, theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. Let us know if you were one of those Harold and the Purple Crayon attendees in Frisco, or whether you know one or are related to one. Give us the temperature. Why is Frisco, Texas the last haven for Zachary Levi? What is going on in that town? And not saying it's a bad thing. Glad you like him. Let us know why Zachary Levi resonates with you, the denizens in Frisco, Texas, because it's very curious. He will be I haven't seen Zachary Levi promoting Harold and the Purple Crayon, but I have seen this go around that he will be on a boat soon with RFK, Cheryl Hines, and Tim Dillon. That is a thing that I've been seeing. Zachary Levi is a celebrity special guest for a boat-based fundraiser for RFK. And I've seen more about that than I have seen him promoting Harold and the Purple Crayon. So,
yes, very interesting.
Very interesting. I do wonder if Harold and the Purple Crayon will be a screening on this boat. That is something I wonder if they've been able to work that out with the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, Zachary Levi aside, do you think that the color of the crayon was a problem at all at the box office this weekend? Purple worked in 1955, and I'm sure in 1955, I do think purple was probably a very novel color to go with and very exciting. And the people in the 50s
They hadn't seen it.
hadn't seen it before.
That's
Yeah.
probably the first time some people have seen purple was this crayon.
Yes.
I think that's the thing, is the novelty of purple has worn off, and that's the problem. I don't know what color they could have chosen. I think most colors have worn off their novelty at this point because we're so inundated with color
Right.
because we have all these screens. I mean, you can choose any color you want in a drop-down menu now. It's not how it used to be, where you used to have to trade to get different crayon colors.
Right.
And sometimes you would never see a color until you were in your 50s.
Right. Yeah. I mean, back in 1955, for a lot of people, the only way they could see purple is to pick up a copy of the book, Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Yeah.
That was the only way that they'd be able to even know what this color looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And, a movie adaptation of that book then, I mean, it's competing with The Godfather at the box office. If this comes out, say, in 1970, and purple is still something that you've only seen in the book, now you can see purple on the big screen.
I mean, prove me wrong, but I don't think there's any purple at all in Godfather.
I don't think so. It's a lot of blacks in there, a lot of black, a lot of red. I feel like there's a good amount of red with the blood. I can't think of purple. I can't think of purple in The Godfather. So, a movie adaptation then, but we're talking 50 years ago. 2024, I think you got to come in here with a mix of colors in that crayon. The crayon
you got to come up with an original color.
Yes.
You have to create a color. I mean, that's the thing. You'd have to create a color that is completely new, that's nobody has ever heard of.
Yep.
And then they'll be like, what? I got to see that color.
Yep. Yeah. That's what this movie lacked, because it obviously didn't have a star that people said, I got to see that star. They'll say, I'll wait to go on the boat. I'll see Zachary Levi in the boat. That's probably it. But they didn't have a color that people say, I gotta spend, $10 for myself, tickets for the kids, bucket of popcorn. I'm going to spend all that money to see this new color. They didn't have that. Yeah. So it's a failure marketing. It's a failure of the star. It's a failure of a lack of a new color for the crayon.
Yeah. So, Pat, do we want to talk Trap?
Yeah. Let's get in that trap. I mean, we saw Trap. We were trapped.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Full auditorium. Everybody was into this movie.
Yeah.
There are ridiculous things about this movie, but people were along for the ride. There was some
Mhm.
snickering, but
Yeah.
fun snickering. I think
Yes.
M. Night invokes snickering, and he knows he's doing it.
Oh, he wants to do it.
He
Yeah.
wants to do it. I think that's the thing that people forget about M. Night is they take they take this tact with him that he is completely humorless when in fact he has a sense of humor,
Yes.
and they don't give him credit for that. And
Yes.
I think that that is, if you're not understanding that he is trying to be funny at certain points, then you just don't get his movies, I think. And I don't want to be the guy who's like, you don't get it, but you're not on the same wavelength if you don't understand that he is having a laugh
He's having a
sometimes.
laugh. There were absolutely points watching Trap when I was looking at the screen and I was thinking, this guy's taking a piss.
This guy's taking a piss.
This guy's taking a piss. He's having a laugh for
Hmm.
sure. And I think there are some people who
People.
don't get that someone's having a laugh unless they're pacing back and forth on a stage with a microphone.
Hmm. Hmm.
A-
Yes.
and they don't realize just because M. Night Shyamalan isn't passing by a stool and isn't, working on his new hour while he's still got the old hour out there, just because M. Night Shyamalan isn't doing that, that he is in fact having a laugh.
Like they
And
say, not all superheroes have capes, not all comedians have mics.
yes, yes, yes. So M. Night Shyamalan, he definitely has a style that could be abrasive for a wide audience, but he's got his fan base and it's steady. And you look at these last three movies, the post-COVID movies, um, it's steady. I mean, everything's been within a million of that $15.5 million mark.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's not, we're not talking the split days. We're obviously not talking the Sixth Sense days or the Signs days where he is the most, maybe like, next Spielberg. We're not talking next Spielberg box office anymore, but we're talking still solid fan base that is a hit on a certain budget.
Mhm. So this got a C plus cinema score, which is the same as Old,
Mm-hmm.
and half degree better than Knock at the Cabin, which got only a C.
Mm-hmm.
That's par for the course. I mean, I think people go into an M. Night not knowing what they want, and then when they get something, they're like, "Well, that's not what I want."
Right.
And that you're always gonna get that with an M. Night
Right.
movie
Right.
going forward, because he is gonna play around and he's gonna be cheeky. So
Yeah.
this movie did not overperform. It did not collapse
Nope.
into bomb territory. I do think, from what we're hearing from other people, including our uh, senior intern Christopher, who
Yeah.
gave us some boots on the ground.
Yep.
I mean, not to speak for him, but he didn't like it. His friends did not like it.
Mm-hmm.
He thought the theater didn't like it. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also, when you're not liking a movie and your friends are not liking a movie, I think you also can assume that the rest of the crowd is not liking it. I mean, similarly, the way I was describing our crowd, there could have been people in the way back who were like, "This is the worst piece of shit I ever saw," but we wouldn't know because we were
We wouldn't
so
know.
in it and in on it.
Yeah. It's he's a filmmaker and this is a movie that is going to evoke a response, and responses, within a group, your actual feelings could be determined by the people around you.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
if just a few vocal people in a crowd react a certain way, it can transform the entire room. And, we just happened to be in a room where we were loving it. Everyone around seemed to be loving it. And it felt like, okay, everyone in this room is in on this movie. And Wannabe Senior and Christopher may have been in a room where that was the exact opposite, where a few, uh, uh, you know, very loud snickerings may have just transformed the whole room.
Mhm.
A few loud, huh? A few of those may have transformed the whole room. So that's what you get with an M. Night Shyamalan movie. He provokes. He's a provocateur.
But we, in our screening, as we were at an AMC, of course, I mean, if you don't have if there's an AMC near you and you're not A-lister, what are you doing?
What are you
It
doing?
it is it is the best subscription service you can have, full stop. I don't care what streamer you wanna tell me is good. If you have A-list, you're living the life. I mean, we all had big buckets of free popcorn available to us
Yep,
because it
yep.
is our
Birthday month.
birthday month. They take care of you over there at AMC. We were swimming in
Yes.
popcorn,
Yep.
right? But this crowd, as soon as Nicole Kidman shows up on screen,
Yep.
applause.
Applause.
And
Yep.
that's how you know it's a good audience. That's how you know the audience loves movies, is that they
Yep.
applaud for Nicole Kidman. That's how
I
you know.
I would love to see some research on the exit pollings and the cinema scores of movies where the variable is, did the crowd clap or not clap for the Nicole Kidman AMC pre-show ad?
Mhm.
What is the difference in those scores? In a non-clapping audience, what is the average cinema score for films? And in a clapping audience, what is the average cinema scores? Because I think, yeah, that's such a big tell of the mood of the audience and whether they're there by choice, whether they're excited, or whether they were dragged to the movie for some reason.
Now, I fear for this movie going forward when it comes to legs because
Yeah,
I do think there were people leaving it not satisfied even after enjoying the ride.
right.
I will say the one thing is Josh Hartnett's performance is so masterful that
Mm-hmm.
could propel people to see this movie because even the people who say they dislike this movie have nothing but praise for Josh Hartnett.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of goodwill with him right now. He's been on. He didn't eat the wings, but for some reason Vince Vaughn ate the wings. Nothing against
Okay.
Vince Vaughn, but Vince Vaughn ate the wings this week instead of Josh Hartnett. I would have liked to see Josh Hartnett eat the wings.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lot of goodwill. Oppenheimer, he's a star of Oppenheimer, huge movie last summer. The momentum is big for Hartnett. That could
Mm-hmm.
be a reason to see this movie. The young woman who plays his daughter, also excellent in this movie.
Yep.
So I do think that there should be some interest there. That dynamic is really amazing in the movie. I'm not a critic, huh?
Huh.
But just on pure why would you see this movie second weekend? I think it's the Hartnett effect.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll break through into the mainstream because I agree he was great in this. He really held it together. He knows how to do the M. Night dialogue, that stylized dialogue that
Mhm.
some people think is phony. No one speaks like that. No one speaks like anyone speaks in a movie.
Nobody speaks
We're
like
all,
Deadpool.
no one speaks like Deadpool. Real life, everyone's a mush mouth.
Well,
You
maybe
know,
Kirk. The Deadpool, the podcast Deadpool, Kirk
yeah.
Minihan.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll go a little crazy. He'll go a little nuts like
He's
Deadpool.
a real life Deadpool, but
Yeah.
beyond Kirk, of course, no one speaks like Deadpool in real life. No one speaks like an M. Night Shyamalan character in real life. It's all stylized. It's the movies. We're sitting there watching it on a big silver screen like Nicole Kidman. Of course, it's different.
Mhm.
So, but Josh Hartnett was one of those stars who got it. He nailed that dialogue in a way that, I'll just say it. No one said this. Mark Wahlberg didn't know how to do that dialogue in The Happening.
Yeah,
And to really go for it, Zoe Deschanel, I'll say it, didn't know how to do
wow.
the M. Night dialogue and The Happening in a way that Josh Hartnett knows how to do it.
You're not shy with the divisive opinions.
No, I'm knocking down sacred cows here
Mhm.
on the BO Boys. I'm out on the farm pushing sacred cows over onto their side, and then they're screwed.
But so you have another buzzy neon movie coming out with Cuckoo next weekend, which I think could take a lot of this audience away.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I'm going to be very interested to see how this holds. I do think we're going to see a big drop. But again, like we were saying by the water cooler, M. Night has modestly budgeted his movies.
Yep.
He is going to be fine. The fact that this opened to 15 is probably enough to keep his house, because he's always putting his houses on the line. I mean, this guy is a Kevin Costner.
He is
at a more modest level.
That's the thing that, I don't know if Costner ever did meet with M. Night Shyamalan before he went into production on Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1. I feel like he didn't, because I think M. Night would have pulled him aside and said, Kevy, Beb, you
Bibba.
can't do $100
Bobala.
million budget, Bubala.
Yeah.
You got to be like me. Look at The Visit. I did a $10 million budget, Bubby.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you got to go. You got to take this thing 10 mil tops, Bubba.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Kevin Costner would have heard if he had that meeting with M. Night Shyamalan before he went into production on Horizon.
Yeah.
You know, just a good M. Night sort of like headlock, because he gives you those headlocks when he loves you.
He's
And
smoking a
he's
huge
like,
stogie.
yep. And he's like, Kevy, Bubby, keep it at 10 mil and you keep the house.
You keep the house. You
Yeah.
got to keep the house. It's all about keeping the house.
Yeah. And I would say totally $15.6 million for Trap this weekend. M. Night's keeping the house.
Mm-hmm.
He's keeping the house. So it's not going to be a sensation. This isn't Split. You know, he's been the last 3 movies. We always want Split again. You know, Split was like the last time he opened huge, where he felt like some degree of the next Spielberg again, where this guy is a blockbuster director, opens to 40 something million, immediately spawned a sequel sort of with Glass. The last 3 movies, they're not that, but they're all modestly budgeted, gonna keep the house, minor hits. And this will probably be that.
But the thing with M. Night is he's one movie away from breaking out again. Like that's the other thing, is like, you don't think he's yet to have another outright tanker.
Totally. And I think that, you know, knock on wood, we all live long enough, we're going to see another Split. I do think he's got another Split in him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think every couple of years he could put out a movie that opens to around $15 million. But one of those years, it'll be a premise that is so hooky that people are so interested in, that has the right star at the right time. Then instead of 15, he has something that opens to 40. I do think we will see that again from M. Night.
Let's talk Twisters very quickly before we get to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
Down only 35, rebounded nicely.
Yeah.
It's at 195. I mean, this thing is almost $200 million. Okay.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Huge.
40X, back in 40X theaters this weekend. Such a smart move. I mean, I love this. We always talk, there's got to be a Billy Bean who is, you know, thinking where movies should be on in what theater, on what time, in what schedule.
Yep.
I love the fact that they're like, this movie is doing Bafa Bobo at 40X. Let's bring it back. Let's keep it. I mean, keep this thing in 40Xs all summer.
Sure. I mean, I think, you know, we haven't seen this in 40X yet. We saw it in IMAX, but
we had a friend who did.
We have a friend who's on 40X, said it was an incredible experience. You know, they go for it with the wind. They go for it with the rain. You're getting droplets on you from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And you hope it's water, but whatever, it's fine. Whatever it is.
Gleeked on. They say you're getting gleeked on.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're getting that gleek. You're getting that wind. And I think that especially in the summer, that's what people want. They want a little
gleek on me, bro.
They want some gleek and they want some wind, because it's hot out there on those streets. You know, you step down on that pavement and your bare feet burn. And so Twisters 40X is a welcome relief from the temperature, along with fun movie. The 40X experience matches what you're seeing better than probably almost any movie that's ever been in 40X. So yeah, keep it in that format until, I don't know, the next Avatar. Who knows? Whatever the next must 40X movie is.
Yeah, keep it going. And I think this, I mean, it's a little bit of a shame that Deadpool and Wolverine is outshining Twisters, because Twisters is doing amazing. It is IP. but it is at its core an old-fashioned blockbuster
Yep.
with two attractive stars that you want to see kiss each other.
Yep.
Which, I
Yep.
mean, I guess maybe Wolverine and Deadpool is the same thing, but they'd make a joke out of it.
They make a joke out of it.
They would
Twisters. Yeah.
they'd make a mockery of it, which I
Yep.
don't want to make a mockery of things, but
No.
that's a thing. If Deadpool and Wolverine actually were in love and wanted to kiss, that's one thing. But to make it ironic and just always a joke, I think is not as interesting as something like Twisters.
Okay. Yes. So you're in favor of sometimes don't have that laugh. Sometimes it's okay to not take the piss.
I would say sometimes you don't need to take the piss.
Yeah. But unrelated people love the 40X Twisters experience. I got to throw this out there. Something we have not mentioned regarding Twisters, and I know we focus on domestic North American box office, but Twisters at the beginning of the summer, us who were high on it, Jeff Bock, Exhibit Relations Co. were high on it. We're saying, could this be a Billy? Could this be a $1 billion baby, Twisters, if it breaks out? And it's doing great domestically, but internationally, I had to check twice. I had to check multiple sources to see if this was correct. Internationally, this movie has only made $78.8 million outside of North America.
Wow.
That is, I mean, are you shocked at that number? And again, I know we focus on domestic USA, and Canada, of course, but
Canada.
that is surprising just how low that number is worldwide.
Yeah, but I also think that makes some sense because the fact that it is so American in a time when I don't think America is beloved around the world,
Okay.
I would
Okay.
say. And
Okay.
I'm not shocked. I'm not
You're
shocked.
not shocked. Okay.
Because also, there are, I think there's just more options for people than are American films overseas at this point,
Sure, but I mean, you look at other blockbusters just this summer, other movies of that level, and the split is nothing like what is happening here at Twisters. People are seeing, and obviously kids' movies translate, but the Minions and Inside Out and Deadpool and Wolverine and all these big movies. I know it makes sense for them to do better overseas business than Twisters, but this split is so harsh. I mean, this movie is so rejected outside of the United States that it does make me wonder what happened here. Because I don't think Universal and Warner Brothers were expecting this movie to do so little business outside the States. You don't greenlight a movie of this size without the expectation that it's going to do well overseas. So
Now,
I do wonder what happened.
When have you checked that it is opened in all of the major markets over there? That's the other thing. Is like, is there some reason they'd be holding off on releasing this in some international markets?
I mean, I'd have to dig into it, but I mean, movies of this size usually just open
Everywhere
at the same time. Gone are the days where it is a 6-month rollout worldwide. They're doing their world, they're sending the stars everywhere when the movie opens. They're hitting up all the premieres. Obviously the days are gone when a movie would make 300 million in China alone. Add that to the tally. That's not part of it. I'm pretty sure this movie has opened everywhere where it needs to open and just has not done well. And are Twisters themselves a uniquely American weather phenomenon? Have we?
Oh yeah, I don't think there's Twisters in any other country.
Okay, so should this have been a movie that internationally gets released under a different title? It's titled in Italy. It's called Scary Weather Event.
I mean, that's possible, and I think they may have done that. I think Universal is not going to, mismarket their movie overseas. They've done it with the original Twister, so I don't think anybody has forgotten how to do it. I'm trying to
Right.
get to the numbers for some reason.
The
It's not
number
loading.
site is
So
just a disaster as
yeah,
always.
it's a shit
Yeah,
show.
it's a
So I
shit
mean,
show with the numbers.
do I
Yeah.
do Mojo?
Oh God. I mean,
I'm
this is
going on
not the
Mojo.
Brandon Gray original box office mojo anymore. This is a
I
bastardized version that, you know,
let's see if they even allow me to have access to what Twister, the original, made internationally.
that's what I've been trying to get to. Yeah.
I might have to back up the Brinks truck here, put my credit card information in to get this. But let's see, because yeah, I mean, I bet this did make more internationally just because of,
So
you know,
internationally, Twister made
252.
252. Yeah. The
Almost
original Twister made it.
more than it did domestic.
Yeah. So I don't think we could blame Twister's current worldwide problems on the Twister itself, because it's not like worldwide Twisters were in vogue in 1997 and they've fallen out of fashion in, you know, in Denmark over the last 30 years. That's not happened.
Now, looking at, since we were able to access the numbers, not the
Yeah.
numbers on the numbers, but on Box Office Mojo
Yeah.
by IMDb Pro,
God.
241.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Twister made domestically.
Okay.
Does Twisters beat that?
You know, so it's at what, 195 right now. So does it make another 50 plus million? It just made 22 million. I think so. I think August is got some big movies coming out. We'll talk about them on the weekend preview episode in a few days. But I do think now we've got some runway for Deadpool and Wolverine, Twisters to really make a meal of August. So I do think it's got another 50 to 60 million dollars domestic in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, listen, it's doing great here. It really stabilized itself in weekend 3. But the international number is surprising. The degree to which people have worldwide have rejected this movie. I won't say I was gobsmacked, but I was surprised.
Yeah, because I get gobsmacked. Only me
Yes.
gets gobsmacked.
Yeah, you are the one who gobsmacked
No one else.
himself.
No one
Yeah.
else. So let's talk number one movie, Deadpool Wolverine. I think the reason why we are talking about this a lot is that we really talked about it a ton with the great David Thompson.
Yes. Yes.
Who came on and just really, you know, this kid is so smart. He knows about the superhero genre more than anybody else. I mean, again, I've said it before. I don't like superhero movies, but I love David Thompson.
Yep.
And the fact that, you know, he is so passionate about these movies, I respect that.
Yep.
And we went over all the reasons why this did what it did. We all thought this could go over 100 for the second weekend. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, the top of the show, this could still end up being $100 million weekend for this. Even if it's 3 million short, this is still spectacular. To open over 200 and then drop only 50 some percent. I mean, this movie is a phenomenon. It is.
It's a phenomenon. It's a full-on phenomenon.
It's something like a phenomenon.
Yeah. Yeah. Which you did a rewatch recently of the original phenomenon starring John Travolta. And
I did. I honestly did. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know this. I know this. That's, you know, people are talking about it at BOHQ that, hey, Clayton rewatched Phenomenon with John Travolta recently and pass it on. So this, though, is a modern day phenomenon. All audiences, all walks of life. Everyone's loving this Deadpool and Wolverine. They're loving the quips. They're loving the action. They love this team up. You know, it's a pair of stars that work. I'll throw this out here. You know, I don't know if you have been following it, but the Oscars are looking for a host again. Jimbo Kimmel has said he will not be returning. And apparently,
no, I think they booted him. They booted him.
Well, I mean, the conventional thought was they were booting him after last year to make way for Mulaney.
Mm-hmm.
And the word is, and maybe this is a negotiating tactic. Maybe he's holding out for more green bucks, but Mulaney has turned down. John Mulaney has turned down hosting next year's Oscars. So
Yeah.
as of right now, you know, whether that holds, maybe they come to him with the right offer and he's hosting, but the Oscars are hostless. Hugh Jackman,
Okay.
Ryan Reynolds, as themselves or in character. I feel like as themselves. You know, if it's the Globes, you do it in character, but the Oscars, I think you do it as yourself. But what do you think about Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman co-hosting the Oscars next year?
Are we talking? Okay. Are we
Yeah.
talking personally, or are we talking ratings wise?
Give me both. Give me both.
Ratings wise, I think people would be abuzz.
Mm-hmm.
Personal wise, I would be loath to see that.
Oh wow, loath. Okay.
I could barely stomach his Mint Mobile commercials that I'm, bludgeoned with while I'm watching my YouTube.
Right. Your YouTube
I love to
Red
watch
series.
I love to watch my YouTube.
Yeah.
And
Don't get between Clayton and his YouTube.
don't.
Don't
And if
talk
you're
to
like,
him when he's YouTubing.
mm-hmm. And it's like, I wonder what Clayton's doing. YouTube.
Yeah. That's how
watching
you
my
watch
YouTube.
Phenomenon with John Travolta. You rewatch it on YouTube.
I watched on YouTube in clip form.
Yeah.
It was 10 clips, and I
Yeah.
watched them in succession.
Wow.
Well, I bounced around, if I'm going to be honest. I bounced around.
Yeah.
I went to the shaving scene first, one of my favorite scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be disgusted by it. I'm not a fan of Ryan Reynolds in the sense of a personal, would I watch this person?
Person.
Of course, person. Box office wise, though, undeniable right now. So respect in that aspect. But listen, if the Oscars, again, it's all about the ratings. It's all about getting young people to watch. And if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. I'm for that. Again, and that is not to besmirch Hugh Jackman, because Hugh Jackman, obviously, great host of the
Tony Awards.
Yeah. And so if it was just him doing the Oscars, sign me up. I mean, he's a great showman.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's where I'm at on that. Bring it on. Of course, the collab that we'd want to see hosting the Oscars is King Kong and Godzilla. We've advocated for this for years, for at least them opening the show, presenting an award. It's not going to happen. The Oscars have just, if they didn't do it, if they didn't do it this past Oscars, bring them out to at least present an award. They're certainly not going to have Kong and Godzilla host. So I do think then give them the version that they'll be okay with, two human being actors, Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds. I'd watch that. And I'm not saying
you're going
to
watch it anyway.
We're all going to watch it. We're both going to watch it. But I'm not a huge Deadpool fan. I'm not a huge Mint Mobile commercials fan. But I would just be intrigued to see what he could do. Can he, taper the act to fit the Academy Awards? And if nothing else, Hugh Jackman's going to put on a show. He's a song and dance man. So I would be in favor of seeing them host. I would be in favor of.
Here's what I'm going to invoke.
Okay.
I'm going to invoke James Franco and Anne Hathaway. One of the biggest Oscar disasters.
Sure.
And what you would have there is
it's up there
somebody who,
with Rob Lowe and Snow White.
Snow White. And Neil Patrick Harris. I'm going to say it. Terrible Oscar host.
Yeah.
Terrible Oscar host.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. You had Anne Hathaway, consummate professional. Very much, let's put on a show type young lady. And that's what Hugh Jackman would be. And then you had Franco, who was too cool for school. Didn't want to be there. Was just submarining any sort of banter they could have. My
Mm-hmm.
fear would be Ryan Reynolds would act too cool to be
Uh,
doing this.
uh,
That would be my fear because he's too cool to do his Mint Mobile commercials.
See, that is, I mean, I couldn't disagree with you more there. And I could see not loving Ryan Reynolds, but I
Mhm.
think that is not the reason to not love him and that he doesn't try, because he tries and
He
he's out
tries but
there.
doesn't try. You know his
No,
shtick.
I don't think him and Franco are
Is
comparable.
like,
It's
"This
not
is
the same shtick.
stupid." He's like, "My
N-
phone is my cell phone company's kind of stupid. Let's
That,
just make a joke of it. Like,
but,
I've got a tramp stamp that says Mint Mobile. Ha ha ha. Do
but
you
it's not.
actually? Do you actually? Because you
I think he
should.
does. I think he does. See, that's
Well,
the thing is I think he does.
show it.
I think Ryan
Show it.
Reynolds does. I think
Show
he
it.
does. I don't think Ryan Reynolds is a too cool, above it all, James Franco type performer. He's all in to the point where you could be annoyed at how all in he is.
I
But
don't
I
think
think he's
so.
a theater kid type too, who does the smarmy quipster thing. But I think he is more Anne Hathaway than he is James Franco. I think Reynolds is
Disagree.
much more Anne Hathaway than he is Franco. I don't think there's a James Franco. If anything, Hugh Jackman, I think, is more of a James Franco than Ryan Reynolds is.
How dare
Because
you?
Ryan Reynolds is so much of a try hard, even though he's a quipster. I get he is a quipster, but he's a quipster who is all in. And I think I don't think the Franco factor would be a problem with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. I don't think
Pat,
either of them would be tanking it. Ryan Reynolds would be at every rehearsal. He would be off script. I think Ryan Reynolds may not be a great Oscar host, but it's not because of a lack of trying.
I don't see. I okay. I like that you came back with an argument, but
Mhm.
what destroyed your argument is that you think there's an iota of James Franco in Hugh Jackman. That is a ridiculous statement, and
More so than there is in Ryan Reynolds.
that
If
is a
anyone
ridiculous
was
statement.
gonna
Pat,
if anyone
this
was
is
gonna lay back and put their feet up, 1 foot backwards on a
no way,
wall,
no
smoke a
way,
cig, it's more likely it's Hugh Jackman than it is Ryan Reynolds.
no way.
That's how much Hathaway Reynolds has.
I want to remind you that this is not
Mhm.
just a podcast, this is historical record. And
Yeah,
this is how history will remember you, Pat. History will remember you saying
and they will
that
remember me.
that Hugh Jackman has more James Franco in him than Ryan Reynolds does. That is such an insane statement, and we are going to get emails about this. I mean, this
Yes.
actually could. I mean, we had a special episode, a web exclusive,
Mhm.
with the gentleman who went nuts about the Joker 2 trailer not being shown at the theater. We had this
Yes.
great
The late
video. It's available
yes.
now on our YouTube channel. It is blowing up.
Yeah.
All right.
Huge. Huge.
I think this could actually blow up bigger. This could be in Deadline that you think
Mhm.
that there's more Franco in Hugh Jackman than there is in Ryan Reynolds.
I do.
Explosive statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're
Listen,
standing by this. I'm gonna give you the ability because I'm a nice guy
right.
to retract this statement right after you said it. To say I'm going too far because I'm trying to argue with Clayton and I'm not thinking straight.
Right.
You can retract this statement right now. Do you choose to retract the statement?
Right here, I say that there is more James Franco in Hugh Jackman than there is in Ryan Reynolds. No takebacks.
This might be officially the thing we disagree on most of
Okay.
all time.
I will not walk it
Ever.
back. I will not walk it back. I will not walk it
Shocking.
back.
Shocking.
I will not walk it back. So email us, theboboyspodcast at gmail.com, and let us know where you stand on this hot button issue. Who has more James Franco in them, Hugh Jackman or Ryan Reynolds? And of course, we mean that in the sense of Oscar hosting, laid backness, not caring
Exclusively.
exclusively, of course.
Wow.
So,
You know what I'm going to predict? Doing a prediction when we're not doing a preview episode. I'm going to
mhm,
predict 100% on my side.
Wow.
100% on my side.
Here's where I'm at. I think carry the one. I think 100% on my side. That's
Wow.
what I think. Yeah, I
That's
think it'll
ridiculous.
come back 100% on my side. Yeah,
I think you've lost your goddamn mind.
yeah, yeah. History will remember what I said on this day.
Yeah.
They will remember me. So here's someone that I think would be the James Franco if you're pairing up Marvel people. We could close out on this and say instead of Ryan Reynolds, it was Hugh Jackman paired up with another Marvel Cinematic Universe star. Hugh Jackman paired up with Harrison Ford. Of course, will be the Red Hulk in Captain America, Brave New World. Harrison Ford out there on the press trail saying that he's only doing these movies for the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's
he's done
who
it before. But
he's done it before.
In his defense, he's done it before.
He has done it before. That's
his defense.
He is who you think he is.
I think everything I do is stupid. So not just this. Like everything you pay me for is stupid.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. He's out there saying everything I've ever done is stupid, including this that comes out in February. Will also be stupid.
I mean, talk about a double standard. When Janine Garofalo says stuff like that, she loses her entire career.
Yep.
And when Harrison Ford says something like this, we're all like, that's our Harrison Ford, man. Yep. What a funny guy. What a funny guy who takes money for a job and then talks shit about it. Because here's what I want to remind people. As much as I dislike Marvel movies, there are people behind the scenes on those movies that do a lot of hard work.
Okay.
That get no credit. And Harrison Ford is talking shit about them too.
Wow. Okay.
Because he's saying this movie's stupid. So he's saying the person who puts the kind bars out at Crafty is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He wants that person to not have a job because he thinks it's stupid.
Wow.
Well, actually, no, he wants them to have a job so he can have a huge paycheck and own a helicopter and a bunch of planes that he can crash. And that's what he wants.
Right. That is what he wants.
But he doesn't respect the person who puts the kind bars out at Crafty. That's the thing. It's not that he doesn't want them to do it. He doesn't respect it because he thinks it's stupid.
He thinks it's stupid. Yeah. So do you agree then he would be a more James Franco-esque Oscar host?
100%.
Yeah.
He's got so much Franco in it. It's disgusting.
He's
He's so full of Franco. I'm grossed out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's disgusting. So hopefully that's not the pairing they go with. You know, if they're going to go with a pair of Marvel stars, go with Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Don't have it be, I guess, Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford next March.
You know, Anthony Mackie would be Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, no, he'd be fine. I'm just thinking in terms of they would be promoting that film.
Oh yeah,
next winter and spring. So don't have it be Mackie and Harrison Ford, even though they'll be in Brave New World together around the same time as the Oscars. So I think that's quite enough on Deadpool and Wolverine. I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah.
With this last 15, 20 minutes of talk there. So again, email us theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know where you stand on the issue. Clayton thinks it's going to be 100% for him. I, of course, think 100% for me. There could only be one. So let us know, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com.
Not to interrupt because I know we got to go, but I mean, I feel like this is, if we're talking about, we were talking about senior intern, senior BO intern.
So wannabe his official title, of course, is wannabe senior intern Christopher.
Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, he's aiming for VP of interns. That is where he wants to
we know what he's actually aiming for, but here's the thing.
Of course, yeah.
And again, okay, so I don't want to make this long, but I was gonna say put up a Twitter poll, an X poll,
right,
about this, about who has more Franco in him. But now I'm sort of second guessing because I know Christopher controls the polls, and I have a feeling that things would swing your way. So let's do it the way that we know there's going to be no flim-flamming going on, email us. We're not
Email
doing
us.
Twitter polls. Email us, because
Y-
emails
y-
cannot be we have access to the email, and I think that is going to be important, that
Yeah.
that we can access this emails.
I mean, famously, of course, Clayton, you in the past have rejected the results of fair Twitter X polls that
Give me
we
the
have
IP
put up there.
addresses.
You have rejected those. You have not accepted the results. I mean, frankly, you've gone out there and tried to have the results of these polls overturned.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we were past that with you, but
Nope.
as we head into this fall season, it looks like Clayton's up to his old tricks and will not accept the results, and will try and have these results overturned.
I preemptively am
It never
not.
ends.
I'm
Yeah.
preemptively not accepting these results.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even a thing. The poll isn't even a thing, and I'm rejecting it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it you know, what's old is new again when it comes to Clayton and accepting results here. So yes,
I'm like
email us.
Harrison Ford, I guess. Nothing ever
Yeah.
changes.
Nothing ever changes. So email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Still follow us on social media at theboboyspod. Maybe he won't be putting up a Twitter X poll, but wannabe O senior intern Christopher is still killing it with the vertical clips over on Twitter X and on TikTok. So follow us there, like, subscribe, all that stuff there. We are YouTubers. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
And as mentioned earlier, a web exclusive. This is not dropped on the podcast feed. It never will. But this past Friday, we did have an exclusive interview with the Lady Gaga fan who went viral last week for yelling at ticket takers outside of a movie theater because they did not show the Joker 2 trailer. I mean, this was the biggest video on the internet last week, possibly all time. That video of the Lady Gaga fan going viral. And we got him on the show.
Ethan Silver.
We got him on the show. So you got to check that out. Huge interview. It's blowing up on our YouTube channel. So subscribe to the BO Boys YouTube and watch those videos. And of course, 5 stars in Apple Podcasts. Of course, read the Substack. Subscribe to the BO Boys Substack. Last week, incredible article, Clayton. We had all of the cameos you may have missed in Deadpool and Wolverine. You know, and there's a lot of cameos that people are talking about, but there's a bunch that are just in the background that you may have missed. So you got to go to the BO Boys Substack, read that article. We point out all the cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine. And live show, of course, the live tour. So Los Angeles on Tuesday, October 8th. With Scott Mendelson and Jeff Bock and Nick Turner. October 22nd, it's the Homecoming, New York City. We got Brett of the New Flesh. We got Sean Donnelly. We got Tony Zarrett. We got Smile is opening up. We got Terrifier 3 is opening up. We're going to talk about surprises. It's the Homecoming, October 22nd, New York. And then, of course, November 16th in Boston, in Cambridge at the Comedy Studio. KIRK Minihane, the BO Boys. It's the collab on stage. And VIP tickets are sold out, but we got general admission tickets that are still on sale in Boston. Those will be selling out soon. So get your tickets to whatever city you are in closest, you know, driving, walking, or bus distance of, and come see the BO Boys this fall. Clayton, that's all I got. I mean, come on. Enough already.
You've said it all.
Yeah.
Maybe too much. There's nothing left to say.
No. Definitely not later, man.
Except for until next time.
We'll smell you at the box office.